Triple M breakfast host Greg Martin. They do a men's show talking about men's stuff. Former Wallaby joins us. He always does this time Thursday, 3:21. All right, Marto. So Shag and Eddie are our best buddies on the sideline, just chatting and having a beer like a couple of mates do, mate.
I like how he said being with Shag, like at training, is like having a beer. Well, hold on, that might be one of the problems with the Wallabies. Maybe Eddie showing his softer side, mate. It's all weird. Eddie's just deflecting everything. I don't know. Is it blowing up over there? I heard the Prime Minister might have said.
Well, no, you see, what we have now is we have a mainstream media that employs little gigglies who are 20 years old to be so-called political journalists. And so they put these questions to the Prime Minister. He makes a comment. Then all of a sudden that dominates our news here. It's just puerile, mate. Honestly, it is just the lowest common denominator, brainless crap that you... just so frustrating. I mean, the days of what used to... you used to have some respect for journalists, didn't you?
Some of them I still do, but only the older blokes.
Right, that's it. There you go. It says it all. So, yeah, look, it was blown up into a major story. We had Steve Hansen on the morning that, the story broke. And the first thing that he was at pains to point out was simply that, look, Fozzie knows about this. I'm going along. I'm offering a little bit of advice. There are no swapping of tactics. There is no game plans or anything like that. So, and look, and
I know what's going on.
What is?
I know what's going on. Well, he's over there to teach them how to clean up the dressing rooms properly because it's been a disgrace.
Right. There you go.
They're not picking up their own rubbish.
No.
So Shag's going, you need to pick up all of that stuff and that stuff. All right? Right, I see you. I'm going home.
You play France on Monday morning at New Zealand time, and then you go into a World Cup. The honest chances that you believe of getting out of the group stage for a start?
I had, on our show this morning, had Phil Kearns. We were actually talking housing because he's the head of one of our largest property housing developers. But we, of course, talk rugby. In his opinion, we'll make the semi-finals. We've got the weakest pool. I don't know if you've looked at our pool. We played Georgia, then we played Fiji, then we play Wales, then we played Portugal. Not real hard when you look at it, but I suggested to Kearns that we'd have trouble beating Georgia because they've picked 15 props, I believe. So they'll do we could have trouble with Georgia. Kearnsy suggested we'll go through to the semi-finals because if we make the quarterfinals, most likely we'll play England, who are eminently beatable. So both of us have good points, I believe. We either get beaten by Georgia, Fiji and Wales, and maybe we'll squeak one home against Portugal. That's my opinion. Whereas Kearnsy thinks we'll go through to the semi-final. So somewhere in between there is the truth. So I don't know whether Shag can fix all that up in 3 days or not over a couple of beers.
We were talking last week about Owen Farrell. So in the end, your 3 Australians who are on that judging panel have been told their decision was manifestly wrong. After a 13-hour deliberation, 13 hours it took 3 new intellectuals, Greg, to be able to sit there, look at the footage that the rest of the world watched at the time and decided why does it take so long for these bozos to figure out what the rest of us get in a matter of seconds?
Because there's a lawyer involved and he's probably charging an hourly rate.
Of course, mate. Yeah, right. Yeah, I didn't think of it like that.
There's been nonsense going on with these things that you could never predict it. Imagine if a betting company said, we're running odds on what the decisions will be from these judiciary panels. You could never make money on that. You'd go broke because they're so inconsistent. It's nonsense. Where has it ended up? I'm losing my mind.
Oh, he's been suspended. For your 4 weeks, he actually did get banned. So what they did is that, when World Rugby then reappoint another judicial panel, so say they rang you and me up and they said, right, you guys have got to sit on this new panel because we're not happy with the decision of the other one.
Yep.
What is that telling us? That we have to come up with a different decision? Is that implied?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what that's being implied there. Otherwise, you will not continue to be on this review panel. Rugby at the top end, just play, just hit people. That's the game.
Well, I'll tell you what was sad last night. We had a Ranfurly Shield Challenge, Wellington playing Tasman last night, Wednesday night in Wellington. Yeah. And, last week, 35,000 turned up to watch women's soccer. Last night, there was 35 spectators. That's our national game, mate. So explain that. New Zealand Rugby have got a plan, though. Unfortunately, they don't really know what it is just yet, but they are working on it, they say.
But it's still great rugby. You and I know that.
Yeah,
Nobody.
Great spectacle.
But you've got a cost of living crisis as well. Mate, we've got a game on here tomorrow night. My Dolphins, are playing the Cowboys. Neither of them are going to make the semi-finals. It's sold out. What is that? So I don't know what's going on here. Who voluntarily wants to go? Two teams, a fortnight out from the finals, aren't going to be playing finals. But, yeah, I want to go. So, different attitudes. You do have problems if that's what's going on with your NPC. I don't know. I can't help you.
I think that you've got problems because there is opposition to erecting a statue of Sam Kerr alongside Wally Lewis outside Suncorp, mate. What is wrong with you people?
Well, it's not me, mate, because I came out roaring on Monday when I heard about this. We came fourth.
Yeah.
So we had a discus thrower at the World Athletics Championships, came fourth in the discus. I was calling, and he's from Brisbane, I was calling for him to have a statue.
Should do.
Anyone who now loses stuff gets a statue. That's simple as that. I think it'll disappear, mate. Friggin' statues.
Right.
Actually, they do. Just talking the World Athletics Championships, you see what's just happened overnight? Gold for Australia in the pole vault. So all those little 12-year-old girls that have been running around with soccer balls in the last couple of weeks, they're all now just going to grab mum's broom and jump over things, I believe. Is that how sport works? Yes.
Well, okay, I go back to the 2000 Olympics where Tatiana, not the most familiar Australian name, but I do remember that she...
Do you remember her?
I remember her. Well, who didn't remember her? She pole vaulted for Australia at that time and won a medal, but and it didn't really, not a lot of take up on the sport then. So, yeah, we'll park that one. Couple more things, mate. The Spanish are in a little bit of trouble. Well, that is the president of the association tongue-diving one of the players and then the coach doing a bit of a breast grope. You've seen this?
Yeah, well, why else would you want to become president if you can't grope some of your athletes? What's the use of being president? It's not just about cutting ribbons.
That's it.
It's sometimes about getting the grope.
Well, is it the Spanish way or is it just a couple of grubby old guys?
I think you and I know it's grubby old guys, but I'd like to think that the Spanish do this. Like, I'm always walking down the road and Spanish blokes grabbing my ass. Doesn't that happen to you all the time? And you just shake your head and go, you Spanish, you're so funny. European.
Yeah, it's a cultural thing, isn't it, eh? They have a siesta during the day.
What a perv.
Well, it's just...
What a perv.
It's just such a bad look, isn't it, in every single way. You know, just... I don't know. I mean, who do you kiss on the lips? Mrs. Marto? Maybe your mother and dad at some stage, I suppose. When you're...
If the dog catches me at an emotional time,
yeah, there you go.
A few beers, I'll actually plan one. Hey, listen, can I throw one on you that'll twist it the other way?
Right.
In terms of sleazy, creepy old men. I know you don't watch AFL, but the Lions, Brisbane Lions, our AFL team, they're going real well. They're coming second, okay? But did you see the images of? We had a guy called Deven Robertson, good-looking young rooster, had his jersey completely stripped off him last week. He played 2 minutes of the game without a jersey on. Now, you tell me what this means. His Instagram account went from 7,000 followers to 48,000 as of yesterday.
Wow.
Pervy women. Women are so pervy that they won't let on. They've all just snuck onto his Instagram account. You know, they've gone, Sue, did you see, check out this Deven Robertson, and it's just gone berserk. He's got a fair old rig on him. He's a little bit better than you and I with his shirt off. Is that not, does somebody call them out and go, you're all a bunch of pervs, you women?
Well, let's go back. Remember the 2011 Rugby World Cup and Sonny Bill's shirt got ripped off at some stage and the physio, who was a woman, went out there and spent about 3.5 hours changing that shirt and every single woman in New Zealand said, I want to be you. And all of a sudden, all the young girls that were kicking a soccer ball decided to become rugby physios, Greg, because of that.
And you tell me, did anyone say, hey, hold on, pull them up? Somebody's got to call them out and go, it's not just blokes who are creepy, it's the whole human race.
Finally, and we were chatting about this on text last night, and you're exactly right, there's been two beautiful golden ages of Australian rugby, 84 to 92 and then 98 to 03. During that time, you dominated the All Blacks as well. The glory years, mate, is it possible to ever get back there? I know that Eddie Jones thinks it's possible, but is it?
No, well, Eddie's just talking, and as we said, he's been a marketing appointment. He keeps on saying he doesn't care about that game against France on Monday. He goes, it's not about that. It's about the World Cup, which starts a week later. No. Well, you've seen me say it's a miracle if we make it to the quarterfinals, I believe. And if we make it to the semi-finals or the final, my God, we've overperformed and give him millions of dollars. He's done well. Rugby in this joint, the problem, do I go deeply into it? The problem here is, mate, we traditionally, there's 9 DPS schools in Brisbane and 9 DPS schools in Sydney. That's where all the players used to come from. And if you went down that track, you'd stay in rugby. Now, at all of those schools, the top 2 or 3 players are rugby league players already been signed by a rugby league team. So therefore, your best players and your leaders are just going to go straight to rugby league, and that's what's happening. Our best athletes are going to rugby league and bypassing rugby, and that's what's wrong with the game in Australia. And I don't know how we turn it around. Maybe a victory at the World Cup might make them go, I don't want to play. But there's only 5, sort of 4 or 5 franchises in Australia. There's 17 rugby league teams. So their manager goes, you've got a better chance of playing NRL. Go there. Don't worry about rugby. And that's what's wrong with our game, mate. We're not capturing the best athletes anymore, whereas we used to.
Finally, listeners are very interested to know that moving into the new apartment, the 6 flights of stairs, how are you doing with that?
Interesting. I need daily massages from myself. Anyway.
All right, okay, let's leave it there.
I had to get rid of some stuff the other day. And I haven't met the body corporate or whatever that is, so it's my first time in an apartment. I have just started throwing stuff over the edge. Apparently you're not allowed to do that.
Apparently not.
My Christ, gravity's unreal. So I'm enjoying it, but no one else who lives with me is.